All right, how do you make sense out of the SPSS screen? This is the data screen. This data was entered in via computer program, which is very often on surveys what happens because you import things from, say, a web database. But it illustrates the way SPSS is laid out, and you could have typed all of these by hand. So, how does SPSS work? On the columns are variables. The variables have names. The names have to have 0 spaces in them and no special characters. In the rows are people. So, in row 4, we have that a person filled this out in 2008, December 3rd. This is their ID. This is where they filled it out for. They felt called to the ministry at age 16, etc., etc., etc. This is the ages at which everyone felt called. This is called the data view, and you'll know we're on the data view because down here data view is selected. So rows are people, columns are variables. There's another view, and that's the variable view. This allows you to work on the different variables. Here each variable gets its own row, and the columns are the characteristics of that variable. So for instance, date is a string of 17 characters long. We could give it a label if we wanted. Remember, the name of the variable can't have spaces. A label is what ends up in all sorts of graphs and any output, and so you can put in labels that have a little more description. So for instance, age called is the name. Here it is at what age. ... means you can click on it and see the rest of it. Did you first seriously consider that you were called to be ordained? If it is something with a whole lot of values on it, you can specify what those values meant. So for instance, a 0 on this means that you didn't check that you felt encouraged before you felt a call. A 1 is that you did check it. Missing data you can give a special value to, or you can just leave it alone. How you want it aligned, and then what kind of measure it is. Nominal, remember, is categorical. Ordinal is ordinal. Scale is interval or ratio data. And you need to get these set right, because otherwise graphs and other data analyses won't happen. So this analysis is huge. You'll never do anything like this, probably not even in your dissertation, so don't let it put you off. But we have, about 500 variables. And these variables all are there, and that's why we have this screen mode to look at things in variable view, so we can look at all the characteristics. You can edit variables this way, and then that change will happen back in the data view.